You are standing at your fence on a wet October morning. The base post is soft to the touch. Your thumbnail sinks in. That is rot. Rot that will cost you $2,000 to replace. The wood was sound last spring. 9 months have passed. Now, I want you to sit with this for a moment. This fence did not fail because of poor wood or bad luck. It failed because moisture entered the fiber and nobody stopped it. I have sealed wooden fences for 20 years across 3 countries. My father taught me this method before I could drive. Today I am going to show you exactly how to lock out that moisture before rot spreads an inch further. Stay with me, because near the end, I will show you the part that keeps your fence alive for a decade without ever repainting. Here is the first thing I check on any fence post. I run my hand down the wood grain to feel for soft spots. Soft wood means the fungi are already feeding inside the cell structure. Rot fungi need 4 things: moisture above 20%, oxygen, temperature, and wood itself. You cannot control 3 of those. You can control moisture. I use food-grade linseed oil, cold-pressed, no chemical additives, pure penetrating power. The oil does not sit on top like paint or stain do. It soaks into the fiber and hardens from the inside out through oxidation. This is the mechanism. Oil displaces the water that fungi need to live. I apply it in thin cross-grain strokes, the wood grain running perpendicular to my stroke. Why cross-grain? Because end grain and cross-grain surfaces are the most porous. They are where 90% of moisture sneaks into bare wood. I work in morning sun on a day above 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Warmth opens the pores slightly and helps the oil penetrate deeper into the cell structure. I wipe the oil on, wait 15 to 30 minutes, then wipe off all excess. Any oil left sitting on the surface will not cure properly and will trap dirt. Thin coats work better than 1 heavy coat. I apply 3 coats over 2 weeks. But this oil seal is only the foundation of what keeps a fence alive forever. What you do to the wood grain itself before the oil sets is where the real longevity begins. Now you have applied the oil. The wood has begun to seal. But there is a secret before this. You are standing in front of your fence on day 1. The sunlight is hitting the grain. Look closely. See how the surface is rough, almost fuzzy. That is not dirt. That is wood fiber standing up. Rain and sun have degraded the lignin, the natural glue binding each fiber to its neighbors. The fibers no longer hold flat. When UV light hits wood, it breaks down that lignin preferentially at the surface, exposing loose cellulose underneath. This is why weathered fence wood looks gray or silvery. It is not the wood itself changing color. It is fiber exposed and standing. And here is where it gets interesting. If you oil a raised grain surface, the oil cannot reach the flat fibers below. Paint or stain sit on top of those loose fibers. Within months, the whole film peels away. I have seen it happen thousands of times. Rot fungi thrive in the gaps beneath. Moisture pools in the raised grain. The deterioration accelerates from underneath. I reset the grain first. This is what separates a permanent fence from one that fails again in 2 years. Grab 120 grit sandpaper. This is your grade. No coarser. Coarser scratches deep and telegraphs through any later finish. No finer either. Finer will not bite the degraded layer. You need medium fine to knock down exactly what has risen. Sand in circular motions, not with the grain. Circles work regardless of fiber direction. You are flattening, not stroking. Move steadily. You are not sanding wood bare. You are removing the fuzzy, degraded surface layer. Feel it smooth under your palm. This takes patience. I spend 2 hours on a 4x8 section. That is the pace. Once smooth, you have done something most people skip. Now comes the part that truly resets the wood. Flood the sanded surface with clean water. Use a hose or pour from a bucket. Soak it thoroughly. You are deliberately raising the grain again. Yes, again. The water triggers fibers to swell. Let it dry completely. 48 hours minimum in temperate conditions. Sun and air circulation help. No shortcuts here. As it dries, those swollen fibers resettle into a flattened, more tightly bonded position. The wood has memory. You are resetting it. Your surface is now stable, clean, and ready. This is the foundation every step after depends on. With the wood prepared, you are ready for what comes next. The oil does the sealing, but how you layer it changes everything. Now, the grain is flat and dry, and your wood is ready to drink. This is where the real work begins, and most people wreck it right here. You cannot just slap oil on and hope. The timing matters, the layers matter. I learned this 20 years ago watching my uncle oil fence posts on his farm. He would do 3 coats, spaced perfectly, never rushing. I asked him why not just 1 thick coat. He told me, thick oilskins on top, while the heart stays wet. It never truly hardens. That is the first thing to understand about linseed oil. It does not dry, it cures. Raw linseed oil contains linolenic acid, which cross-links and hardens when exposed to air. But that hardening happens only if oxygen can reach the uncured oil beneath the surface. Thick coat traps wet oil inside. Thin coat lets oxygen work all the way through. Day 1 of week 1. You apply the first coat, thin and absorbent. The charred wood is a sponge. This first coat often nearly vanishes into the char layer. Work it in along the grain with a natural bristle brush, pushing oil into the fibers. Wipe excess off within 15 minutes. No pooling, no drips. Dry to the touch. Now you wait 5 to 7 days. This is not impatience. This is chemistry. The first coat is oxidatively polymerizing inside the wood cell walls, hardening into a flexible solid. Rushing to coat 2 traps, uncured oil between layers. You get a tacky, non-breathable film. That defeats everything. You wanted breathable. Breathable means vapor passes through, not moisture pools inside. Day 7 or 8, second coat goes on. Same method, thin and along the grain. Again, wipe clean. Again, wait. The wood is expanding and contracting naturally as humidity shifts. Penetrating oil works with that movement because there is no rigid surface film to crack. Paint would split. Stain would blister. Oil flexes with the wood and stays bonded. Week 2. Another 5 to 7 days have passed. Coat 3 is your final barrier. Thinnest of all. Same ritual, same patience, same careful wipe. After this, you have a breathable, weatherproof skin that will not peel, blister, or abandon you. But here is the secret most people miss about keeping this alive. Now, with the oil hardened inside the wood fiber, here is where permanence actually lives. This is the part I did not tell you yet, and it changes everything about how you think of fence maintenance. Most people believe a fence needs repainting every 3 to 5 years, or it rots. That belief comes from paint and stain, which sit on the surface and eventually peel. But our fence does not have paint. It has char. It has oil inside the grain. And here is the secret. You never repaint it. You only touch it up. Once every 6 months, spring and fall, I walk my own fence with a rag and a small can of linseed oil. I am not coating the whole thing. I am not sanding. I am not stripping anything. I am looking for the spots where the oil has weathered away and the char has turned gray and dull. End grain. Post bases near soil. The tops of horizontal rails where water sits. These are the entry points. This is where rot fungi wait for moisture to creep in. On those spots alone, I apply one thin coat, applied with a rag, wiped off immediately. That is it. 15 minutes of work, twice a year, and the fence holds for decades. Think about what we have walked through, and you will see why this works. We lifted the grain and reset it. We sealed it with 3 layers of hardening oil. We created a breathable skin. Wood can expand and contract, but moisture cannot penetrate. The char beneath is inert, hostile to rot, hostile to insects, hostile to UV. But char itself needs one thing, that thin oil film on top to stay sealed. Without the oil, rain and sun slowly wear the char's surface, gray and porous. With the oil, the barrier holds. With the barrier, the wood stays alive. You are standing at your fence line in early October, and you pull a rag from your pocket. Water is beating on the rail tops. The char is black and matte. You move on. No work, no cost. Just the quiet knowledge that your fence is sealed for another 6 months. That is the method I use. That is what my father taught me. Tell me, have you ever maintained a wooden surface this way, with touch-ups instead of recoating? I read every single comment you leave, and I want to hear what you find when you test the water bead.